Now you ready?
Yep.
All right. Hey, brother.
Hey, Al.
And welcome everyone back to another episode of Siblings in Crime. I'm Allie Rossell.
And I'm Blake Murphy.
And just as it sounds, we are siblings who love true crime.
Yes. Love it. Right? Love it.
Love it. Absolutely. You look like you're not facing me very much today.
All right. I'll try.
Because
freaking Brett keeps moving all my stuff.
Yeah. Brett. Just kidding. All right. Well. Now you're looking really cozy.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right, as always, if you haven't yet, please like, subscribe. We are Siblings in Crime Pod on all platforms. If you want to contact us, we're siblingsncrime@gmail.com. There's no I in N. I know it's confusing. That one was already taken.
Yeah.
So siblingsncrime@gmail.com. If you have any case suggestions, we love to hear you from there, or DMs as well. Instagram.
Yeah.
Is a helpful one.
Or if you want us to advertise for you.
Or if you want us to advertise for you, we're looking to start doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So super annoying. We're going to start having ads. Just kidding. Anything before we get into it?
No. Nothing. Let's carry on.
Okay. This case is from Belgium. So the names may be tricky, but as always, I do my best. So, that being said, the sky above Zwartberg Airfield is sharp and blue on the morning of November 18th, 2006. The kind of crisp Belgium's winter skydivers love. It's clear, open, predictable. Els Van Doren, 38 years old, folds herself into a little jump plane with the easy confidence of someone who belongs up here. She's not just experienced, she's respected with more than 2,300 jumps under her belt.
Wow.
A calm, centered presence and a sport built on adrenaline. At 4,000 feet, Els reaches back and pulls her parachute, and nothing happens. 2,000 feet flash by, she pulls her reserve chute, and again, nothing. Els lands in a backyard garden and dies instantly. Today we will cover the case of elite skydiver and mother of two, Els Van Doren. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
That sounds scary.
I know.
I want to get my skydive license.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I have this memory when I went skydiving a couple times. I remember one of the times we were up there, like we were in the airplane and like some guys who were like practicing was with us.
Okay.
They were like getting their licenses.
Where were you?
In Arizona.
Oh, okay.
And we go first, we land, and then we're like, getting all of our stuff taken off and everything. And then we just see this guy by himself just like fly, like totally miss the landing spot and go like a mile out into the desert and crash. And then everyone like jumps in their cars and goes to look for him.
Oh my gosh.
And so I have that memory in my head. And I don't care about jumping out. I just want to land. But I'm like, I'm a pilot. I could figure out how to land.
Wait. So his parachute was up and everything.
Yeah,
he just got like swifted away.
Yeah, well, he just
Maybe
like misread the landing by a lot, and
oh my gosh, just like into the desert.
Yeah, into the desert.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
So I always have that memory, but
I can see why you'd be a little more hesitant after that.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
But we can handle it. We're pilots, right?
Yeah,
we're used to going base, final, come in and land.
I wonder if they have like similar.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really look into like the different procedures in order to like have a safe landing, and I don't know if there's like any like certain structures supposed to be doing probably, but anyways, well, Els, who we're going to be talking about today, she's a freaking beast, as you can hear. Elite skydiver. 2,300 jumps is so many.
Yeah.
I don't even think I've flown a plane that many times.
Yeah.
I was like, that is actually
I wonder how many hours that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I wonder also how they track that. I mean, obviously by jump.
She's just a logbook.
I know, but I'm saying like it's not like you obviously track it by hours. You're like in the sky for probably what, like 5 minutes? Mm-hmm. I wonder how long you're falling. I don't know anything.
Not long.
Yeah, it's not very long, I imagine. Well, anyways, to dive into our story, long before the headlines, before investigators pulled apart her gear line by line, we just got Els Van Doren. She was a wife, mother, jeweler, and one of the most respected formation skydivers in Belgium. So she's doing like the cool diamonds and like all these different shapes and stuff.
She's elite.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, she's 38. She was living in Lier, something like that. Whoa. I think is how you say it, Belgium, with her husband, Jan de Wilde.
Whoa.
So we're going to call him just Jan.
Jan?
Yeah, his last name's a little tough for me.
Yeah.
So Jan. And their 2 children. So we got a family of 4. And Jan and Els, they worked in the jewelry shop together. Like, it's their shop. And so they were together all the time, obviously.
Is he a skydiver?
Actually, it's funny you said he actually was the one that started skydiving. So he was interested in it.
The original skydiver?
He was in the family, between the 2 of them. He was the very first skydiver. Ever. No, he started skydiving and kind of is the one that got Els into it. But over time, he started pulling away. He wasn't as interested in it.
More into jewelry.
Right. So he stopped jumping, and Els was like, I'm a natural. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
And so she kind of took it up as like her main hobby, almost like a profession, while her husband kind of pulled to the side. By 2006, Els was on a 4-person formation team with 3 other jumpers. It sounds like, from what I gathered, like there was a ton of people in this jumping club. So you kind of get paired with whoever, like you're making, depending on what formation you're doing, you could be paired with 20 people or like 4, right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
But her normal jumpers, there's this guy named Marcel Sommers. He was like the seasoned like ringleader. He was very charismatic. What?
He's the vet.
Yeah, exactly. So he was the one, like when they're on the ground practicing formation, he was like telling everyone where to go, what shape to get into, that kind of stuff. Oh. So he was the expert. And then the other person in their team, this girl named Els also. So they actually nicknamed her Babs. So I'm going to refer to her as Babs because the main person we're talking about is also Els. So we got Babs Klodelman. And she was shy. She was younger. She was about 26 at this time. So she's 26, whereas Els, like our main subject today, is 38. And she was newer to the sport, so she looked to Els a lot for support and guidance, and they became like sisters, like besties. And as far as a 4th member, it was kind of just rotated whoever. The 3 I mentioned, Els, Babs, and Marcel, were like the trio, and then they would join other groups for formations. So Marcel and Babs and Els were especially close, obviously, because they had to like really trust each other with these formations. Their group practiced frequently. They were perfecting their timing, their body control, choreography. I would never think about like choreography when it comes to skydiving, but kind of neat.
Yeah.
For the weekend of November 18th, 2006, where this story takes place, the plan was simple. They were just going to do a 4-way formation jump followed by routine practice maneuvers. It was nothing unusual, nothing advanced, anything like that. Els had her gear packed the same way she always did.
So she packed it?
She packed it. Good catch. Her friends would later describe her as very methodical. Like even though she has this many jumps under her belt, she's not like casual about it still. So she's very particular with how she does it, not rushing or anything like that. And although Jan no longer jumped with her, he was super supportive of her passion, which honestly is very impressive because obviously they had a family, they had kids, they worked in a jewelry store. They were about, I don't know how far. I think they're about an hour and a half at least from the airstrip. And so she would go and be there like all weekend. And so like every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually like Saturday, Sundays, it sounds like, she was 2 hours away jumping. And so she wasn't really with her family during that time. But him and his kids were like very supportive of their mom being like obsessed with this sport. And so that was totally fine, but I was like, dang, I'd be kind of annoyed. But regardless, they were very supportive of her going to go pursue her passions. So on this morning, November 18th.
I feel like an hour and a half isn't that long.
I know.
You could have just come back.
Well, I mean, I'm sure she came back all the time too.
Yeah.
But
did both.
I think it was like, it might have been longer. I'm not quite sure. I guess
it's all right. Don't worry
but
about it.
all I'm saying is like, even if she was coming back regularly, that's a lot of travel and back and forth. So on this morning of November 18th, as the team loaded into the small jump plane at Zwartberg, I hope I'm saying that right.
You're probably not.
Probably not. At the airfield, there was no reason to think that this would be different than any other day. So as the plane leveled off at jump altitude, Marcel Sommers moved the door and slipped into the open sky first. So Marcel, like I said, he's the leader. So he takes the jump, followed by the 4th person, whoever's with them that day, And then it was Els who jumped as third, and then Babs trailed in formation. And the 4 jumpers drifted into position, beginning their shape that they've always done. Everything looked routine to about 4,000 feet when Els reached back for her pilot chute, which she pulled, and there was no deployment. She pulled it again, and nothing. At 2,000 feet, went for her reserve, nothing. Her helmet camera that she had on, which is crazy, she had a helmet camera during this, recorded her final seconds as the ground rose silently toward her. In a quiet backyard, a resident heard a single heavy thud. The homeowner immediately went out to investigate, and that's when she quickly discovered the body of a woman lying in her bushes.
Jeez.
Oh, I know. It makes me so sick to think about. That'd be so mortifying to come upon. Els had died instantly on impact, and when first responders, they arrived quickly. Of course, the homeowner went and ran for a phone. When they got there, they were like, oh, this is super tragic. What a malfunction that happened. Like, this is a very dangerous sport. But that would all soon change. When the call came, Jan couldn't understand what he was being told. It's like one of those things where you hear something and you're like, there's no way. I think what he was told was that there was like an accident or something happened. So he rushes over to the airstrip, obviously. And it wasn't until then, when he got there, that they told him that Elle's parachute didn't deploy and she had passed. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine hearing that news. In the chaos afterward, when Jan was too shattered to think clearly, Babs was like trying to be helpful, I'm sure, and she approached Jan with all of Elle's belongings that she kept in her locker. And Babs herself was like absolutely inconsolable over the tragedy. But this just made it so much more real for Jan. He like talks about that. He's like, it was too soon to get Elle's things. So that was really hard for him. It was a reality he didn't want to believe. So that being said, arranging the funeral felt like impossible for him. He was going through the motions, but was just in such a grief-stricken state. He decided he wanted the funeral very intimate, like very close family. So even the skydiving group wasn't invited, which was saying a lot because this was kind of Elle's like second family. But he wasn't very close with them, and he decided that no one outside the family was going to be invited. Those who spoke talked about Els as they knew her, a devoted mother, a thoughtful friend, a woman who balanced discipline with warmth, a steady presence in every room she entered. They remembered how she laughed, how she worked beside Jan in the jewelry shop, how she never bragged about her skydiving accomplishments even though she was elite level. They remembered her how she always showed up for practices, for friends, for her children, even when life demanded more than she could ever give. So Jan himself didn't speak very much. Sounds like at the funeral what the people that were present said, that he was very to himself, very reserved, and basically just, I don't know if you want to say soak it all in, but kind of that personality trait. So the service ended quietly that day. Afterward, people lingered outside in the cold November air, not wanting to go home yet, not ready to like re-enter this world where Els no longer existed. Heartbreaking. With all that said, I really wanted to emphasize who Els was as a person. So investigators were quickly on the scene, picking apart Elle's parachute, trying to understand what happened. Because surprisingly, this doesn't happen as much as you would think. I think people think it's super dangerous, but it doesn't. Actually, Blake, look that up.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. How often do skydive accidents, like fatal skydive accidents, happen? I'd be curious about that. Well, I think what I was reading was that it's not as uncommon for your parachute to fail, but with both your parachutes failing, that is also extremely, extremely rare. Yeah. Let's see. I think I might have written about that. Oh, yeah. So the main and reserve, both of those failing are nearly non-existent. It said almost unheard of, with odds estimated around 1 in 10 million or even lower for your parachute and your reserve to fail.
Yeah, this says in the U.S., there's roughly 10 deaths annually and 1 fatality per 370,000 jumps. 1 in
370,000?
Yeah.
That's pretty decent odds.
So that was in 2023. 2024, 9 fatalities, and so 1 per 431,000 jumps.
So they're figuring out how to make it safer, it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah, so I mean, it's not as common as you think, considering like we drive every day. And
it says a high percentage, around 70% of fatalities occur within a skydiver's first 1,000 jumps, highlighting a steep learning curve.
Oh my gosh, that's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Els is at 2,300. So
yeah.
I always told Mom that, like when we were flying Cessnas and stuff. Once I got into the airlines, I was like, Mom, like the chance of me dying is way lower now. Like, yeah. I was like, if I was going to die in a plane, it probably would have been when I was flying single engine.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, I don't have any, but no. So I think that sounds like obviously a similar thing with skydiving.
Knock on the wall. There we go. She's a little aggressive.
Well, I wanted to get past the foam.
Oh, yeah, true.
I had to knock on the wall. All right, so it's not very common that the main and the reserve is what we're getting at. Don't open up. So investigators are like, we need to find out why these didn't deploy. The first step was routine. Investigators photographed the gear exactly how it was. Then they carefully removed the container where like the parachute and everything's inside, and the harness and the lines for analysis. So they're kind of slowly starting to tear it apart. What they expected to find was a malfunction. A tangled line, a jammed pin, a fabric tear, anything mechanical that could explain why Els, like a veteran jumper, was unable to deploy a single canopy. Instead, they found something else entirely. Or else we wouldn't be talking about this. When parachute riggers and police began to inspect the main parachute, the container opened too easily, which is a shock because these are supposed to be pretty hard to open. They aren't supposed to open until gravity helps. Mm-hmm. So the concern began, why was this already kind of loose, first of all? But the real concern revealed itself when they followed the lines, once they got into the container. The cords that connect the jumper's harness to the parachute canopy, they realized that several of these key suspension lines had been clearly severed. So not like frayed, they weren't old, not snapped under pressure, just like straight up cut, it looked like, with like scissors. If the main parachute lines were cut, the canopy could never inflate. But maybe investigators hoped that the reserve would tell a different story. So like maybe that was just like a freak thing. Mm. When they look at the reserve parachute, it's the exact same thing. Like even cut. Cut.
Jeez.
So it's like that's like their last safeguard. And both the main and the reserve cut. Like not ripped, not torn, anything. Freaky. So the chance of both parachute systems failing by coincidence was already like crazy small. But the chance that both sets the life-critical cords had been severed through normal use was like no chance. There was no way that just like happened accidentally. Mm. One of Belgium's top riggers...
Am I allowed to guess soon?
Oh, I have a spot for you.
Okay, cool.
I'll let you think a little longer. Mm-hmm. One of Belgium's top riggers told police the sabotage could have been under 30 seconds long. Like if somebody knew...
They just go...
Yeah, exactly. They knew exactly where to look... Snip, 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 and it would be over so fast.
Yeah.
By the end of the inspection, investigators weren't dealing with a tragic training accident. They were obviously dealing now with a homicide. News of the sabotage didn't hit the club immediately. Investigators kept their findings quiet while they worked on who had access to Els gear.
Yeah.
The bag didn't stay locked in a locker or a vault or of course not a vault, anything crazy. Yeah. Like this is, I mean, it's like a second family. Everything's kind of out in the open. And like most,
at all times?
Or at all times.
Even when she's not there?
Well, it sounds like she would take it home and then she would bring it back over the weekend. But I mean, she would be at this club all day long, like Saturday and Sunday. And she's only jumping however many times in a day. So then it would be laying out and about. So, like most skydivers, Elle stored her equipment in a shared environment and then just only brought it around when she needed it.
I'd be scared to start to skydive after at the club. I'd be like, there's some murderer around here. I know.
Trying to cut my Everyone's probably like hanging on to their pack. Like,
yeah.
I'd probably leave the club. I'd be like, I don't know.
I'm getting out of the club.
Yeah. So, that meant like anyone could have reached it. And still investigators had to start somewhere. The first most obvious question in any sudden death case is always...
Husband.
Well, the question's true. is who had motive, who had opportunity, who had benefits, and typically they start with the husband because of that. All right, this is where I have you lock in your answer. Do.
All right.
So we have a couple key characters. We have people that may have not been brought up. We have anything.
I know. I was paying attention.
I'm so proud of you.
All right. I'm ready. Carry on.
I will carry on. So one thing that you ought to know is that skydivers pack their parachutes immediately after landing, sealing the lines and canopy into a tight, methodical system that won't be touched again really until the next jump. So it's not like before they go in the plane, they're like going through their bag, making sure everything looks good, because you can't just necessarily peek inside and see if everything's okay. You would have to unpack the whole thing and then spend all that time repacking it. Mm-hmm. And so typically you're not really touching your bag before a jump.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of scary. I'd be like, is everything okay in there? I'm about to jump out of
Especially
a plane.
The first jump, you're like, I think I did everything.
Yeah,
right.
You're like, okay, I did this I packed this last week. Is it still good? Like, did I pack it actually? So like you have to be in a pretty good routine to make sure that you packed it right, or you're unpacking the whole thing.
Yeah.
So Els had actually just jumped the previous week. She packed her parachute exactly how she always did and then stored it. By the time she arrived for the fatal jump a week later, she would have no reason to inspect the inside of her container. No reason to suspect the lines had been touched, and no way of knowing anything had changed since the moment she folded it herself.
Yeah. It says experienced jumpers, 15 to 20 minutes to pack it, and then non-experienced, like 15 to 45 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, that can take some time.
Yeah.
I thought I saw somewhere, I may have just like read over it briefly, but I think like every few months, maybe it's every 6 months, maybe it's a year, I'm not sure. Like you actually have to go and get your gear like inspected by an actual person who goes through it, make sure
like 100-hour.
Yeah, annual. Exactly. To make sure that your gear is all like still in good condition, nothing's worn down. Yeah. That kind of stuff. So like they're pretty serious about having some good gear. They began working through every person in Els' orbit, starting at home, like you mentioned. Poor old Jan. He is still in deep grief. He answered every question as best he could. You know, grief can cause a lot of fog. And so it sounds like his answers seemed a little foggy. But he told investigators where Els kept her gear typically, who she practiced with, what her normal schedule looked like. And investigators, upon just like a brief interview with Jan, it didn't seem like there was any obvious signs of any type of abuse, domestic, any fast payout that they could see right away, like insurance type of stuff. And he wouldn't like necessarily benefit from what they could see from Els passing. And so they kind of put him on the little side burner for now. Yeah. Side burner, back burner, whatever. So they move on. Next came the...
Which burner?
Back left.
Back burner. All right.
So next, they went to the people in the club, the ones who jumped with her often, and that they would realistically knew how the container worked. Jan did too, but...
It's been a while.
Yeah, maybe it's been a while. Maybe it'd take them longer than 30 seconds. I don't know. Yeah. So the ones that were experienced enough to like sabotage this shoot, the investigators really wanted to get talking to. But motive was another question altogether. Like, who would want Els dead? And no one seemed to have an answer. Everyone liked her, and it just left investigators stumped. Because without motive, like, what's the point of even doing this to Els? One of the most frustrating things about this case is the lack of forensics. Once they saw that the lines were cut, they immediately took the pack to the lab to see if they can pull anything from it. Like, I was like, what could you even pull if it's a 30-second scissor swipe? Well, originally they looked for fingerprints, which is crazy. Like, of course, on the container flaps, the rig's exterior surfaces, even the cut lines. And then they went on to DNA, sweat, skin cells, trace material on the interior of the rig, and then tool marks. See what kind of cutting instrument. Which I'm like, dang, these are like thin, like strings. And you're looking for like what kind of tool was cut. That's pretty intense. And then also transfer evidence. So like fibers, hairs, anything else that could be not linked to Els. Yeah. What they actually found was nothing, not a single thing. Oh. As you would kind of expect. I mean, parachutes aren't like very forensic friendly. Things aren't just going to like stick to that all that well. But because there was no physical evidence and no obvious suspect, people even thought of the possibility that maybe she had chose to do this to herself.
Whoa.
I thought that was a pretty bold thing.
Yeah.
People thought like she loved skydiving, and maybe if she was struggling with these type of suicidal thoughts, maybe she would do it doing something she loved. Mm-hmm. This will come up again and again and again. But those who knew Els and the people who watched that like helmet cam footage, including investigators, said that the way she fought to deploy her chute made one thing crystal clear. That Els did not want to die that day. Mm. And that's sickening. The footage isn't publicly available, but I'm sure the kids may have seen it. Like, how heartbreaking to think that, like, you have video footage of her last moments.
Yeah.
Investigators were desperate for more information and evidence. They felt that they urgently need to find Els' pilot chute. Do you know what that is?
The first one?
Yeah, like, you know, like there's like a little like
the
white
little
thing
one that guides it.
Yeah, kind of like exactly. So a pilot chute, according to Google,
They couldn't find it?
No, it was like detached.
Oh.
So a pilot chute in skydiving is a small hand deployed parachute that acts as the first step in deploying the main canopy. The skydiver throws it into the airstream, it inflates, and the drag is what pulls the closing pin, and then the main parachute bag will come out of the container. That's what I mean, like gravity helps, is because it like the drag is what's pulling the main parachute out. So that's the sequence of it. And they weren't ever able to, like, at this point, they didn't find the pilot chute. So they're thinking that if they were to recover that, maybe they'd be able to see the exact sequence of her final moments. Its condition and landing spot could confirm if it deployed manually and properly, or if that too had been tampered with at all. So they're just thinking like maybe there's trace evidence on that. So they're thinking like maybe, I think they're pulling at straws.
Yeah, they're doing their best.
Yeah, they're doing what they can. And so they start hunting around the airfield. They're like, okay, this is the general area. The wind was like this that day. They're like trying to do the mathematics to find out like where this pilot chute was.
Yeah. Like in the FAA is pretty intense about stuff like investigations too.
What do you mean?
Like one time we had a nose wheel fall off and at Casa Grande. Oh, yeah. And they sent police officers to Casa Grande to search the whole airport and they finally found the nose wheel.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder how far off was it?
I don't know. And the pin. I think they're looking for the pin.
Did they find it?
I don't think they found it.
I was say there's no way they found that.
Yeah.
It's like so tiny on like that's wild.
But I was like, dang, that's pretty intense. Like
the FAA doesn't mess around.
Yeah. But
and neither do these guys. Especially in a situation like this, they're like, we're potentially trying to find a murderer. Mm-hmm. Like, we need all the help we can get.
Yeah, true.
So for several days, they're searching. They call upon everyone to keep their eye out and stuff. And that was like, this is like all within like the week after Els passed away. So at first the chute was nowhere to be found. That is until Babs actually contacted police with something that she thought might matter. She said that she had been driving near the airfield stuck behind a slow-moving tractor when she glanced upward and noticed a flash of fabric caught high in the branches of a tall tree. She couldn't make it out for sure, but obviously she was a regular skydiver, and so she kind of has like a keen eye for being like, oh, that's the right color, that looks like fabric. Mm-hmm. So she called it in, and investigators went, and they got it, and they actually confirmed that was the missing pilot chute. And it was like 20 meters off the ground or something crazy high. Mm-hmm. So they were able to get that. And finding the pilot chute really didn't give investigators anything. So they were like super bummed, like, oh, great, we found this. And it gave us nothing that we wanted. There was like no fingerprints, no new suspect, nothing like that. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of a big bummer. But its condition showed it had deployed cleanly. Exactly.
Why did Bab find it, huh?
Good question.
I'm just kidding.
I mean, they're all near theirs. Yeah. I think they were asked to like look, but they were all near the airstrip. So
I'm a fan of Bab though. I don't think she did.
I think Babs is a fun name.
I do too. I also like Els too.
Yeah, Els is cute. I wonder like if she talks well or something.
Yeah. I actually wrote down baby names Els.
Really? Just now?
Yeah, just now.
That's so cute.
Like, maybe I'll start making a list.
Els is a cute name. That's funny.
Hey, but that's secret. Top secret.
All right.
Just kidding.
All you listeners out there. Yeah, so she did that. Well, like I was saying, but the condition showed it had deployed cleanly and that did exactly what it's supposed to when Els pulled it, meaning that it didn't fail mechanically. So it was fine. Its position high in the tree matched the drift pattern that they expected also with the helmet cam, which is funny because they did all that math to like figure out where it could have been and drifted, and then they don't see it. But it sounds like it was like in a tough spot to see anyways. Mm-hmm. And because the chute showed no tearing, snagging, or damage that might suggest an environmental cause, investigators were able to eliminate every innocent explanation that typically they consider in a skydive a fatality. Mm-hmm. Recovering the chute didn't reveal who sabotaged her gear, but it definitely proved something essential. The malfunction was not an accident, as we already discussed.
Yeah.
So, with literally no evidence, these poor guys are literally going with nothing.
Yeah. You should, if I yawn, you should like just have the camera on you for that second that I'm yawning.
That's funny. It's like super close to me. I didn't even notice you were yawning.
Just every once in a while, I'm like.
That's funny. Inside of your mouth.
Yeah.
It's funny. Stop yawning.
I'm not yawning. It's just part of it. I'm sitting in a comfy couch. And I don't know what you want me to do.
I'm sorry. I know. That's a good point. Well, okay. Anyways, like I was saying, because they had no evidence, like we're going to have to go to like old-fashioned police work and just start chatting with everybody we know.
Yeah.
So, of course, they started with Jan again. He was grieving, and they're like, I imagine, this is how I picture it. This is probably not the case, but this is how I picture it. They have a whiteboard or chalkboard of everyone that they have already met. A
bulletin board?
Yeah, maybe a bulletin board, with the red lines. Everyone's connected. And so they're looking at Jan. They're like, okay, he was grieving. His emotions seem real. He had seemingly no access to her gear. And maybe she didn't bring it home that week. It's unclear. And nothing was pointing in his direction that he had any real motive. Like, he seemed like a loving husband. They worked together. Like, the kids weren't like, Mom, Dad, fight all the time. Anything like that.
Yeah.
So detectives...
And he lets her do her own thing.
Yeah, and he's like, go pursue your passions.
Yeah.
That's a cool guy. So detectives turned fully to the parachute club. Narrowing their pool to the people who trained closest to Els and understood her equipment as well as she did.
Don't say Bab.
Okay.
She's my girl.
She's your girl.
I'm just kidding.
Well, that list wasn't very long. Among the names in her skydive circle, one stood out immediately. Marcel Sommers. The leader. Marcel was the formation lead, the vet, you were saying. The person who reviewed exits, corrected technique, and often practiced side by side with Els. He spent long evenings at Zwartberg, and he had a complete understanding of the rig that she relied on. He knew when she packed, how she packed, and importantly, that once she packed her shoe the previous week, she was not going to open it again before she jumped. During interviews, Marcel Sommers cooperated without hesitation. He walked investigators through the jump, his team's routine, and the days leading up to the accident, everything seemed pretty straightforward. Nothing in his answers raised alarms of any type. Even though nothing was immediately alarming, his constant presence at the club, his technical skill, and his familiarity with Els' gear placed him naturally towards the top of their list. In a case with no fingerprints, DNA, no physical evidence, they're really going off just straight circumstantial in these cases. But then investigators learned something that reframed everything for them. Marcel and Els weren't just teammates. They were having an affair. Dun, dun, dun.
Shocker.
I know, I hate that.
I might have wrote that down. I might have not.
Do you want to read your thing now?
Sure. It's wrong, but half right.
How would you know?
Because I mean...
We're not even done with our story.
That's true. I said, I think the fourth skydiver did it. Maybe they had a secret affair and she broke it off.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. Fourth skydiver never gets brought up again. But I see what you're saying with Marcel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, why didn't she say the guy's name?
I didn't know it. It rotated through. I like the speculation. So The revelation didn't prove Marcel was guilty right away, but it did give investigators something they hadn't had before, and that was clear motive. Suddenly, he wasn't just the jumper closest to Els, he was a man with the skill to sabotage her shoe, and a personal relationship complicated enough to warrant a second look. A personal relationship.
The husband still. Maybe he found out.
That's what I was about to say. A personal relationship Els' husband knew nothing about.
Yeah.
And how sad. After her passing, you're like so heartbroken. You do this funeral.
You hear about it.
And then you find out she was. And Jan, actually, I don't want to give any more suspicion to Jan. He sounds like such a good guy.
Yeah.
He was like, even after he found out about the affair, he's like, you know what? She's still a great woman. Like, we will still, like, praise her as my kid's mom and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So he sounds like he's just the most compassionate, understanding guy ever. Yeah. So it is not Jan. But investigators didn't fully understand the scope of that complicated relationship and all the things to do with Marcel, so they dug deeper as they always do. And that's when they discovered there wasn't just one affair, there was two.
Fourth guy.
No.
Oh. A girl. Bab.
No. So through interviews and phone analysis, detectives learned that Marcel had also been romantically involved with Babs. So the She Was Shy, the younger skydiver who trained alongside Els, she, unlike Els had literally no idea that Babs and Marcel were involved with each other. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, Babs absolutely knew Marcel and Els were hitting it. Mm. In fact, sometimes I just go through this, I'm like, this is like so wild. The pattern was painfully clear to poor Babs. Babs had an understanding. She had Friday night with Marcel, and Els had Saturday night.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is such a weird thing. It was like some secret arrangement, and it was like painfully clear that Marcel was favoriting Els. Mm-hmm. Marcel was also like 40, I think. I'm like, Babs, go find someone your own age. You're 26 or something. You got a whole life ahead of you. Mm-hmm. Well, for Babs, this relationship wasn't like casual. She was getting very emotionally involved. And she kind of relied on him for like reassurance. And she always kind of struggled with insecurity. And so she kind of found that a little bit of confidence through her relationship with Marcel. So friends from the club later described her as like anxious, conflicted, and increasingly distressed in the weeks before the fatal jump. Mm. And she wasn't quiet about her feelings either. Babs had confronted Marcel, and Marcel straight up was like, if I had to choose, I'm choosing Els. And I can't imagine poor Babs hearing that. Mm. This revelation immediately changed Babs' position in the investigation. Until now, she had been kind of like a background figure. She was a like really good friend. Like everyone said that they were like sisters, like super good friends, like always helping each other with everything. In fact, Els was kind of like a mentor to Babs. But once investigators understood like the way this relationship is, which is like crazy, it's like linked 4 ways: Jan to Els, Marcel. Anyways, once they figured all that out, like the secret triangle, they were now fully invested on Marcel and Babs and who they were as people if they had the opportunity to do this. Els completely was unaware of the situation. Marcel seemed at worst irresponsible for just not taking advantage, but being sloppy within the group. But Babs was known to have this emotion and jealousy side up to her. She also trained in the same spaces as Els. She stored her parachute gear in the same rooms. She knew Els' schedule, her parachute, all the same reasons they were looking at Marcel. Or Babs knew the same stuff. Mm-hmm. Didn't mean she was guilty, but it meant she could be. So get this. This is fascinating to me. Records and interviews revealed that in the days before the fatal jump, the 3 of them had stayed together in Marcel's house. So I guess, from my understanding, Babs typically was there Friday night, and it sounded like Els came into town Saturday, stayed with him Saturday night. Well, it sounds like Els came in town a day early, and she thought it was normal to stay at Marcel's house, so the 3 of them stayed there, and Babs was put downstairs on the couch while Els got to be in Marcel's bed with him. Mm. And
probably wasn't happy.
And probably was not happy, exactly. And so, like, that is so crazy to me that they're like, yeah, let's do the sleeping arrangement tonight. Mm. So I can just imagine Babs downstairs listening to who knows what, just festering. So this story, they're finding out that they all stay in the same place, that Babs is kind of an emotional person. We're going to bring that up a million times. It kind of shined some light on... Shone some light?
I don't know what it is.
We don't know English. It really emphasized Babs looking like the primary suspect. The prosecutors later built their entire case around her emotions, which is wild in a case. So get this. There's a few reasons why. First being, although Babs denied any tension, teammates later acknowledged that she had been visibly upset the night before the fatal jump. And on top of that, her story about that night I just said where they all slept in the same place was constantly changing. And prosecutors were like jumping on that. They're like, oh, were you okay with it? In the beginning, she mentioned that like, oh, it was no big deal. They're all friends. They're staying at the same place. It's fine. Then later she was like, actually, I felt left out. And then a little bit later, she described herself as devastated that she could hear Marcel and Els. And then finally, she said that she cried herself to sleep, which she really played it low with how she originally felt. And then turns out she was way more emotionally involved. So prosecutors decided to start theorizing. This is what they come up with. They argued that Babs tampered with Els' parachute that night, they're all staying together, inside Marcel's home, while the other two slept, because all their packs would be together. They say because this gave her complete privacy, like it's middle of the night. Els' rig was there, Babs had free access, her jealousy was at its peak being in the same house with them that night, and she also knew that Els' jump was in the morning, that she wouldn't check her parachute. So the theory was completely circumstantial, but it fit that emotional timeline a little too perfectly to just ignore it. So they start building this portfolio of Babs. They also realized that Babs repeatedly told investigators that she had never touched Els' parachute, like ever in her life, which is like, I don't know why she would lie about that, because every club member is like, she helps Els with her parachute like every day after a jump. Like everyone's always helping each other to make the process go faster. As you're saying, like it takes a long time kind of. And so they're like, okay, you're obviously lying about small details as well. In fact, Babs even inserted herself in the investigation. I feel like you sneeze every episode. No. But I will carry on. They thought that Babs initially appeared pretty helpful, but now it looks a little excessive that she was involved. She was the one, obviously, that discovered that pilot chute where it was like high in the tree. And investigators later noted that it was probably very improbable for a passerby to just notice it so high up. So they actually dove into her phone data. They're like, what were you doing over there? Obviously, it's near the airstrip, but according to phone and location data on Babs' devices, she had been driving around the area on multiple days after the accident. She was circling roads near the airfield far more than she had admitted in the interviews. She told police that she was just trying to clear her head, but the pattern suggested that she was actively searching these zones. And they think that she just wanted to like insert herself and look helpful. Maybe it would take suspicion off of her if she was like being like bringing forth evidence or whatever. But when investigators replayed her interviews, they also noticed how often she asked about procedural questions. So already she's inserting herself. Now she's asking police like how they could detect sabotage and when parachutes were examined and whether they could tell how early the tampering occurred. I'm like, that's very odd questions. So could you tell when exactly those things were cut? Like, weird. Again, none of it proved guilty, but it was pretty guilty behavior. And so then they really start diving into her psychological stuff going on. So she gets examined, and court psychologists labeled her as emotionally dependent, highly insecure, afraid of abandonment, prone to panic under relationship stress, and vulnerable to catastrophic thinking. I think that's a wild thing to be. Yeah. Kind of like diagnosed. So these weren't theories. They came from like formal evaluations. And what was commonly highlighted in that psychological portfolio was how Babs had attempted suicide twice. So these attempts ended up being pretty pivotal in like their emotional case against Babs. Her first attempt came shortly after the investigation began to intensify around her. So, kind of seems like a guilty look. She had been questioned repeatedly, and she survived the attempt. But investigators know that the event aligned exactly when the moment she felt like she was starting to get pressure on her. And I imagine someone that has, like, unstable emotions, like, that wouldn't be that surprising. Maybe if you felt a lot of pressure, even if you're innocent, maybe you could get to that point. But prosecutors are like, no, guilt. Her second attempt came later. After she realized she was officially considered a suspect, that's when she attempted again. This time she did leave a note, which I don't have access to it, so I don't really know what she said. But it was used in the prosecutor's evidence on trial. They argued it revealed a conscience overwhelmed by guilt, while the defense insisted it reflected just a fragile, unstable woman who felt persecuted and misunderstood. And I can see both sides. Regardless of interpretation, the two attempts painted a portrait of someone unraveling under the weight of this case. So, we're now 2 years after Els Van Doren, something like that. I don't know where to put my accents. So, we're now 2 years past that. Investigators made a stunning declaration that this wasn't just murder, it was attempted murder as well.
Why?
I was waiting for you to ask. You're just thinking so long. So prosecutors argued that sabotaging Elle's parachute didn't only doom her, it also endangered the other divers in formation around her, especially Marcel, who had been positioned like beneath her during portions of the jump. Because like a body plummeting from 4,000 feet can kill anyone it hits. And in their view, whoever cut those lines risked multiple lives as well. So I was shocked by that. I didn't realize that the first time I came across this case. And I guess that's a good point, though. So this was the moment that the case really shifted from tragic mystery to criminal prosecution. And I can't imagine I bet the club feels a lot more peace of mind now because I bet Babs isn't involved. But I feel like that'd be so scary to know that it was like attempted murder as well, that all of them could have been in some serious danger. After nearly 2 years of interviews, psychological evaluations, reenactments, expert testimony on parachute rigging, and repeated cross-checking of timelines, investigators turned over everything they had to the Belgian prosecutor. And it wasn't much. Like I said, there was no real evidence, forensically, DNA, anything like that. No confession, no eyewitnesses. But what they did have was a triangle of jealousy, conflicting stories, opportunity inside Marcel's home that night, and a pattern of behavior that kept circling back to one person. So, on December 19th, 2008, prosecutors formally indicted Babs Klotmans, charging her with the murder of Els Van Doren and the attempted murder of another skydiver on the jump. And Babs was just 28 years old at this time. So the indictment actually stunned the skydiving community because they were like, they knew that there was an investigation going on that maybe was suspicious, but now it was like way more intense. Some believed it immediately. They're like, yeah, it looked like something was going on between all of them. Like some people were like Babs, but others were like pissed. They were like insisting that the state was building a case on no facts whatsoever. And like, how dare you just blame this random person who has maybe a little bit of emotional issues. So I honestly don't know where I stand with that as far as like taking it to trial. Obviously you want someone to be held accountable, but it's pretty crazy that they had nothing but circumstantial evidence.
Yeah, that makes it hard.
That makes it really hard. Babs denied everything too. It's not like she ever came to like, oh, I'm guilty, or like had a confession. She maintained that she had never touched the parachute, never harmed elves, that she would never do anything to elves. Like they were like super best friends. But the trial was coming, and with it, the most controversial courtroom battle Belgium really had seen in years because of the lack of evidence. So the trial starts September of 2010. Our case, Els, passed in 2006. So it's been 4 years now. This is the prosecutor's case. They painted a portrait of a young woman unraveling. Jealous of Els, pushed aside from Marcel's affection, spending the night in Marcel's house downstairs and witnessing things, crying over the situation, attempting suicide twice, inserting herself in the investigation, changing her story multiple times. And most importantly, having unrestricted access to Elle's parachute and gear, like the most access. One thing that is interesting that we didn't really touch on was that Babs kept a personal diary. And after Elle's death, she wrote a line that investigators later like seized on, but I don't really see the significance that much. She says something along the lines of, "No one will believe me, no one will understand." Just that. Prosecutors saw that and they argued that this reflects guilt and fear of being exposed, while the defense insisted it showed a vulnerable young woman who felt unfairly targeted. And to me, I'm kind of like, I think Babs probably most likely did this, but I feel like the defense is making a point where I think it sounds more like she's like, "Oh, I'm getting misunderstood because of this," you know. But I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of vague. But it really was brought up a lot in the trial and carries some weight to it. The prosecutor's argument was simple. They said only one person had motive, emotion, and opportunity, and she was the last person anyone suspected. And they told the jury, you don't have to see the killer do it to know who did it. I'm always curious about prosecutors and defense attorneys, like their last statements. They're like so theatrical about it and stuff. It's like so intense. Yeah. Did you ever see the case where like the Karen, what was it? Where her husband died, or it was in the yard with the snow at the friend's house. The police were involved. A huge trial. I think it was Karen something. Anyways, her defense team killed it. It was like super huge on like TikTok and stuff. But you should go watch his final statements. Yeah. I always think of he's like a prime example of just like really hitting home.
There was no collision. There was no collision. There was no collision.
So that's the prosecutors. The defense case, they were like, okay, you got nothing on her. They countered with equal force, saying that absolutely no forensic evidence tied Babs to sabotage. Everyone at the club had access, not just her. Like, all their bags lie around. Marcel himself had the same opportunity and motive. Like, we don't know if Els told Marcel, hey, I'm actually ending this, and I'm just going to be loyal to my husband. Like, we don't know anything like that. 2 suicide attempts showed mental fragility. Not guilty. Fragility. That feels like a weird word right now. Babs' inconsistencies came from panic, not deception, and that the prosecution was offering a story, not proof. That last one I was like, kind of true. Their key refrain was, this is conjecture being treated as fact. And I think that the prosecution did a great job making it look like fact. Yeah. They argued the state was fixated on Babs because she was emotional and vulnerable, the perfect target for tunnel vision. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think she probably did it, or Marcel, or whatever his name is.
Okay, but if you're on the jury, how would you vote for that?
I don't know. I'd have to hear the whole thing, and that's
true. I guess only with the limited information I've given you.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's any doubt, you'd have to say she's innocent. So
that's the thing. I feel like there's enough to have reasonable doubt. I think the prosecutor's case seems most likely, and it makes the most sense. But without any like real evidence, I'm like, can you say for sure? I feel like that's kind of hard to be like, jail forever. If I don't know.
True. That's the hard part. So what happened?
You ready for the verdict? After days of deliberation, what do you think?
Innocent.
The jury returned with a verdict that split public opinion instantly. Guilty. Oh. Yeah. Babs was convicted of murder and attempted murder.
Jeez.
Both. She was sentenced to 30 years in prison. No physical evidence ever found. No confession. No eyewitnesses. Just a narrative that the jury believed.
Dang. That's crazy.
That's a pretty crazy consequences for that.
Yeah.
This is why the case became one of the most controversial convictions. Because honestly, like, I go back and forth. Like, I don't know if I could have said guilty. I shouldn't be on a jury because I'd be like, I'm so indecisive as is. But Babs is still serving her 30-year sentence in Belgium to this day. Wow. She has continued to maintain her innocence. She appealed the conviction, and lost. She became a symbol in Belgian legal debates about circumstantial evidence. Some still believe she's guilty, while others believe she was convicted because she was emotionally unstable, not because it was proven that she had actually killed somebody.
Yeah.
So Marcel, he moved on. We don't hear anything from Marcel anymore.
He's like, I'm never
dating two people at the same time.
Yeah.
Jan rebuilt his life quietly, raising his 2 children. Elle's children grew up without their mother.
Oh, no.
I know, heartbreaking. And Babs, now in her late 40s, remains one of the most polarizing figures in Belgian criminal history. So was she a jealous killer or a convenient target for a story that needed a villain? 14 years after the verdict, people are still arguing over that.
Wow.
Was there enough evidence? I don't know. But this is the horribly tragic death of Els Van Doren.
Dang, that's intense.
I know. And I'm like, it seems most likely to be Babs, but I'm like, I don't know if you can put someone away for that long for that little of evidence, unless I missed a fat chunk of information and they had a ton of evidence. According to my research, that's not the case, but I don't know. Pretty crazy.
That is very crazy.
All right, now what you got for me?
All right, so today in true crime news, ChatGPT selected from truecrimenews.com. The first one he chose was De Paris slaughter, charged after allegedly killing, dismembering man, and setting house on fire.
Wow.
I feel like this happens way too much.
Yeah, what is going on?
I don't know. A 32-year-old man, De Paris slaughter,
That's
has
a wild
been arrested.
name. De Paris?
Yeah, I could be saying that wrong.
Same.
And charged with first-degree murder, dismemberment, arson, and concealing a homicidal death. Authorities say the victim, 68-year-old Michael Limford, was found shot in the neck and chest, with arms and legs severed. Then the house was set on fire.
Oh my gosh. Was it last week that you told us about the guy who burned his father? Was he dismembered too?
I don't remember.
I feel like every case you've been talking about has dismemberment.
Yeah, it's not
That's
good.
disturbing.
Tamala Roodseal, woman arrested after allegedly slashing boyfriend's throat with hunting knife on Thanksgiving.
Oh my gosh.
Guess what state this was in?
Arizona.
Yep, guess what city?
Phoenix.
Mesa.
No way.
Yeah.
How did we not hear about that?
I think I might have. I don't know.
I did not hear about this. I wish it gave us an address.
You freak.
I'm just curious how close it is to home.
In Mesa, Arizona, 52-year-old Tamala Roodseal allegedly called 911 on Thanksgiving Day and confessed to slashing her boyfriend's throat with a hunting knife. Police found the victim with a deep neck wound. Roodseal has been charged with attempted second-degree murder and assault with a deadly weapon.
I'm
so
surprised.
I guess she's... the guy didn't die.
Well, I'm confused for a couple reasons, but that's interesting. She called the police on herself.
Yeah. She probably was mad and then she realized what she did.
Yeah.
Andrew Dykes arrested in Long Island, cold case murder once attributed to serial killer. So authorities arrest 66-year-old Andrew Dykes in Tampa, Florida on a New York warrant for the 1997 killing of 26-year-old Tanya Jackson. The case, long presumed linked to a serial killer, has been re-examined, and Jackson's death and that of her young daughter is now believed to involve Dykes.
I feel like I remember this story. I feel like I wanted to cover it maybe or heard it recently or something. That sounds
crazy.
really familiar.
Yeah.
Well, did they have any relation? Do we know?
We don't
other?
know anything.
Oh.
So.
That's wild. Like, I'm so glad that DNA has come as far as it has. That's crazy. They're solving cases like 30 years ago right now. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. All the serial killers and murderers are nervous.
I know. They're like, oh gosh.
Like the Golden State Killer.
Yeah, true.
Alfredo.
Family history. Woo.
Yeah. Let's go. Alfredo Munoz Jr. and Kelly Munoz, parents, charged and allegedly torturing to death 14-month-old baby.
Ew.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You gave us a creepy parent story last week too.
I know. This is ChatGPT. In Long Island, California, a father and stepmother have been charged with murder, torture, and assault of 14-month-old child. Died from abuse. The child was admitted to hospital following signs of trauma and later died of injuries.
I hate that.
Yeah, that's sad.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a Mesa one. That's crazy.
I am shocked that we didn't hear more about that.
Me too.
But I guess the country keeps moving, keeps doing bad things, I guess. So don't be on Blake's ChatGPT True Crime.
Yeah. TrueCrimeNews.com.
On TrueCrimeNews.com. Scary. Do you have any updates before we wrap up?
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week with another episode of Siblings in Crime.
Adios.